Well, good afternoon. Welcome to our soda walk. Well, the word that's been bouncing around in my thoughts here the last little bit has been perception, and the manipulation and the deceit that's been propagated towards us as humanity to affect our perception. You take right now, I'm sitting outside here, what we used to call a beautiful midsummer afternoon, 33 degrees, whatever that works out to in Fahrenheit, I'm not sure. It's got to be, I guess, up around 90, maybe somewhere in there. But we used to consider that a beautiful summer afternoon, and that years ago we'd go out and enjoy the sun and be grateful for a nice summer day. But the entities that are manipulating the powers that want to be, the governments, the NGOs, the corporations, have propagandized it and demonized it and manipulated your thoughts to perceive a day like this as terrible. You look at the weather maps that they put out, and that 30 years ago, a day like today, there would just be a weather map saying it's going to be sunny and 33 degrees. And today you have a weather map that says it's to stay away from the sun, and the map will be colored red, and it's boiling and blah blah blah, just a bunch of bullshit. And but that manipulation of our perception is one of the tools of these dark forces, if you want to call it that, however you want to look at it. They've deceived people and manipulated their perception of carbon, CO2, like the carbon. Like, that's the gas of life, and that's what this green behind me here breathes in and converts to oxygen. Hell, we're carbon-based creatures. They've if you look into some of it, and that if they get the carbon to where they want it to be, and that it's not even good for life. So what is the purpose behind that? Is it so that there is no life? I don't know. Or is it to manipulate the weather patterns and the stuff for some other type of life form? I don't know. There's all kinds of thoughts and that out there, but to change your perception from CO2 being the gas of life to being something terrible, demonized, that you're an evil person for even having a car that puts out a little bit of CO2. Well, these parasites that are pushing this do the exact opposite with them, because they can afford to buy a credit. You know, they make you, they're changing your perception of reality, changing your perception of the way things really and truly are, and that. But they want you to perceive them as more powerful than they really are. They want you to perceive them and their policies as being benevolent, when if you actually look at the policies and the actions of these people, of these entities, there's nothing benevolent about them, and that it's all about perception, that you perceive them to be greater than you. We've been manipulated into perceiving ourselves as flawed, as a lesser being, if you want to put it that way. You know, right from when you actually, even after, just after conception, they've convinced people that an embryo is not life. They've deceived people into the perception of what life is, even. And that it's okay to do all these eugenics, is what it actually is. You know, the cessation of life, and that deceive people into believing that it's a good thing. It's all about perception and how they want you to perceive that humanity is a lesser form of life for some reason. That, like I said, you're flawed right from the start. They deceive you into believing that your identity is what you do. That your identity is the name they give you. You know, they want you to perceive yourself as just a cog in a wheel. They want you to perceive them as the one you need to go to for permission, I guess. To be, you know, we're under the perception that we need to buy a place to live, that we need to pay somebody to own a piece of property. How do we ever own a piece of property? We're not here to own anything, we're here to steward things. And besides, who are we buying it from? You know, I was watching a little clip today, and it actually made sense. Who are we buying our property from? Because they don't own it neither. They want you to perceive that they do. All it is to exercise their perceived control over you, and they want you to perceive that, have the perception that you need them, and as we step into the true power of who we are, as we start to step out of the lies and manipulation and programming that have us perceiving that we are less than enough, that we are flawed, that we are a danger to the earth and that we're going to destroy it. If we step into the realization, the perception that we are more than enough, that we are part of this Gaia, that Earth is a consciousness, that Earth is alive, that Gaia is alive, and that we're just stewards here to steward the nature, to be part of it. That you and I we come here more than enough. And that our identity is not in a name, our identity is not in what we do, where we live, what color we are, what religion we are. These are all boxes that these entities, parasites, want you to believe in, to perceive that, have the perception that these are who you are and what you are. When those boxes mean nothing other than control, they can keep you in a box, keep you believing in some fictitious story, really, but that story's been inbred into our psyche for millennia, and I think it's time that we as human beings, as civilization, start to throw those boxes aside. You know, like I said, the true you is nothing to do with those boxes. The true you is love, consciousness, fullness, connectiveness, I guess you could put it that way, with each other, with the collective, with Gaia, with nature. All of it is connected. And as we learn, relearn, remember how to interact and change our perception of who and what we are, I think we'll come to the point where we will see those dark forces fading away. Or at least get to the point where they're not exerting any control or power over the ones who decide to change their perception and not allow these entities to dictate how you perceive yourself and perceive what's around us in this life that we've been given. You know, it's like I said, it's time to get healthy and serious, mind, body, and spirit. Watch what you're feeding yourself on all levels. Don't allow the poisons in. You know, do we have the answers? Not all of them. But I know one thing. The manipulation and the propaganda, the stories that the parasites, the powers that want to be, keep pushing towards you, pushing on you, and trying to get you to fall in one of those boxes isn't the way it should be. We, as part of creation, as part of the Creator, have a responsibility to love the creation and to be part of it, co-creators. Like I said, to steward be stewards of that creation. And in doing so, be loving towards creation and towards each other, as each of us are part of creation. Share the true love. The love that has no expectations. The love that reaches to the spirit, to the soul, to the heart of each around you. And that. So yeah. Like I said, the entities, the parasites, they're trying to deceive you and have you perceive things in a way that's not as the Creator intended, I think, and not as it's intended for you and I. So yeah, start to look around, open your eyes, open your ears. You know, they tell you what they're doing, and we've just been lulled into the story that they're just doing the best for us. And to me, it's quite obviously they're not. So yeah, I guess, I don't know. Like I said, I do these videos and I haven't a clue what I'm going to say. It's just that word of perception, how we perceive, come to me. So I hope that this makes a little sense, and that you can maybe start to perceive the world the way this creation is in a different way. In yourself, that you are more than enough, that you weren't born flawed, you weren't born a sinner, you weren't born broken, you were born whole, complete, more than enough. All the flaws have been learned, have been programmed into us. It's time to unlearn, time to step into who we really are. Recognize your own identity, that you are a co-creator, that you are part of creation, part of the Creator, a spark of the Creator. You are love. Anyway, we'll leave it there. Give your loved ones a hug. Tell them they're loved. Take a look at yourself in the mirror. Tell yourself you got this. You are more than enough. Know that you're loved. We love you. Be blessed. Have a great day. We'll come back at you again sometime. Bye-bye.